Did not give any notice. Not looking to get many people live here, but nevertheless, I'm gonna put the call out. It is what it is. Because it really doesn't matter to me, but I'm gonna get this message across. Give me a second as I rally the troops. Let's see. Just give me a second, y'all, please. Damn, the computer can be slow. Brother, you here? Oh, I see you. Fantastical. I'm just putting the call out right now. Let me just hit one last group, and we're gonna get on with the get on here. I just got home, and I was like, man, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do this regardless because I got way too much material not to. How you doing?
I'm cool. Do you want me to just let you rock?
I mean, you can join in. You know what I'm saying? But it's like
I have no problem letting you just rock.
Word. Let me see. Let me try to rouse up the STEM group. That's the last place I'm gonna post in, and then we're gonna get on with the get on here. How you doing today?
I'm good.
I don't see it. Why don't I see it? It is what it is. Everybody there's anybody should have seen this by now. So let's get back on here. Salam alaikum, Hotep, peace, Black African power. It's your host with the most, as well as your other host with the most, Brother Minister Dawud and Mr. Holipsism, bringing the 13 Revolution experience, the BAIO radio. This is not necessarily a show that I advertise much. People in private groups knew I was going to do it. But it's something that's near and dear to me, and it fell on my heart this morning. And whenever you have a situation where you get inspiration to do a show and you have so many ideas that your cup runneth over, then I think that that's a show that you should do. Because if in fact you get hit with that kind of spirit, and that oh well, it looks like people is here. Peace and love, brothers. I'm not trying to compete with Dinah's show, but I said I was going to do that tonight. Nobody told me they was doing the show, so it goes to show you, it is what it is. Anyway, so I got my good brother, my beloved brother, Mr. Holipsism, with me, and he will kind of moderate as well as comment when he feels necessary. But I intend to bust this bitch wide open.
There you go.
And so if you have some kind of, because y'all know how I do. I always give a disclaimer. If you have some kind of romantic, nostalgic view about the conscious community, you may not want to listen to this show. If you have a view of it and you want it to stay the same way it's always been, you may not want to listen to this show. It is not my intention to put it down or anything like that, because in fact, I love the conscious community. But I think that the conscious community on the whole, if any of us is honest, is an opportunity that in all reality was lost. And so it's not something that fulfilled its purpose. It's not something that matured and grew branches and dropped seeds and sprouted. It's something that came, it grew, and then it died. And so therefore, brothers and sisters, listen, somewhere around 2005, 2006, 2007, I really want to say 2009, though, when Obama became president, I started hearing the coined term conscious community, conscious community. And I didn't know exactly what that was. I was on Blog Talk Radio. Hollip, you probably was on Blog Talk Radio at the same time. And I started hearing it more and more. And I said, oh, that's kind of a cool name. But the funny thing about it is that the whole time I was hearing it, everybody spent a lot of time trying to disassociate with it. So, in other words, every time I heard it, I only heard I'm not part of the conscious community. So then I went over to another show where they was dropping a whole bunch of metaphysical stuff. I'm not part of the conscious community. Then I went to a well-known sister who had been to the continent, had taught on continental traditions, foods, all the way down to clothing and everything like that. And when she got big, after like 2 years on Blog Talk Radio, she did this interview, self-filmed interview, and she did this stupid introduction as the conscious community is not really community because it's not conscious. I was like, God damn. Every time I turn around, somebody's trying to disassociate themselves with this terminology, conscious community. So what I did was I embraced it. And the reason why I embraced it is because I appreciated what they did and what they stood for. But as you will find out, in my judgment, conscious community is a movement that really was aborted and it really didn't fulfill its true potential. It's sort of like Wu-Tang. So if you are a Wu-Tang fan, let me give you a little bit of history. Wu-Tang came on the scene, was the first real group to have full intentions of breaking up and letting everybody shine. And the original model of the Wu-Tang was we are together, we form on one man being the RZA. We're all going to put out an album so people can hear us and really get into us. Then it is our intention for us to all sign side deals and break up and shine on our own. But every couple of years, we're going to come back together and do an album and reproduce the spirit. But the main mission of Wu-Tang, to me, was given in Wu-Tang Forever, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Holla, on side B, when the RZA got on there, and he said, it is our intention to take over the world. It's our intention to bring hip-hop back to what it was. He said, this is lyrics, MCing. And in the background, the Jizza and some other people would say that player bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Acting like this is some kind of fashion show. So their intention was to bring back hip-hop to its lyrical form and to make the pure lyricism what it used to be with dope beats, speaking of the hardcore times that was going on in the black community. But unfortunately, the movement itself did not achieve its full potential because of envy, jealousy, egos, said other things went down. So after maybe one album, Raekwon fell off. Then after maybe 3 albums, because he was the one that lasted the most, in my opinion, Ghostface fell off and started, rapping off beat. Then you had the Jizza. I don't know what the hell happened to him. He started trying to fit 6,000 words into one sentence. So slowly but surely, I would go to Staten Island. They had graffiti up there, but you would see normal shops in Staten Island, and they would have Shaolin this and Shaolin that. I mean, that spirit took over that whole city. And they didn't, maybe 3, 4, 5 years removed, not only was those shops gone, but even the celebrated famous graffiti was gone. So I'm familiar with movements that are aborted and don't reach their full potential. Janet Jackson did an album called Rhythm Nation. And in this album, she spoke of a lot of conscious things, and she spoke as though she intended to bring together a collection of people, a rhythm nation, if you will, that would speak on conscious things through music. And then the next album, The Titties, came out, and that was it. And so, am I lying, Hollow? And so, therefore, brothers and sisters, what I'm saying to you is that I'm familiar with movements that come and have gone and didn't fulfill their purest form. So back to the conscious community. So the model of the conscious community, brothers and sisters, was we are a collection of brothers and sisters. Nobody is really the leader. We are spreading information amongst each other. We are empowering the individual to be great And we're not going to be like religious people. So you would hear a lot of cursing because it was against religion to curse. And you would hear a lot of, you know what I'm saying? Like sisters was able to dress whichever way they wanted to dress because that was supposed to be anti-religious. But most of all, the information that was dispersed by the conscious community, as far as I'm concerned, was unprecedented. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm going to go through another analogy because I really have to build up this topic. But I remember being on a job years ago, and I had a boss. And the boss that I worked for, he said to me, he was talking about regulations. And he said to me, he said, you know, the most regulated industry was the phone industry. He said, you ever wonder why the phone industry went through 20 to 30 years of the same goddamn means of communication and didn't upgrade until recently? I said, damn, I never thought about that. He said, it's funny how we went through 30 years of a rotary phone, and the only thing we got was a push button phone, and it took 30 years for us to get caller ID. I said, damn, I didn't think about it like that. But it was the truth. He said the reason why is because there was heavy regulations, and those regulations retarded growth and they retarded creativity. Think about that for a second. Think about that for a second. Because, like I said before, with the conscious community, you had brothers and sisters who were clearly a part of this dynamic called the conscious community, but everybody spent a lot of energy trying to disassociate themselves with it. And even though you had people teaching high-powered information about Africa, about indigenous societies in America, about places all over the planet, nobody seemed to be wanted to be part of this so-called conscious community. So I'm going to lay out a couple of points as to how it rose and fell. And with that, I think we could use this as a blueprint of how not to let nationhood end up in the same position. Now, mind you, as I always say, and I don't apologize, I come from the Nation of Islam paradigm. And when I used to be in the Nation of Islam, that's the most popular that you now see is in the condition that it's in. When it was in its pure form, we used to have a tape that we all would pass around. Yes, it was a tape, and it was by Minister who, and the tape it was a 4-part tape, and it's called Pathology to Hypocrisy. And in this particular tape that they were passing around, apparently one of the high-level executives that used to help that particular minister had been poisoned, and he passed away. And in his pathology, when they did the autopsy and the doctors went through the whole thing, found out he was poisoned, they found out certain things, there was some foul play. Peace, brother Patrick. And so in that particular minister, you know who he is. I won't mention his name. He, in a 4-tape kind of expose, went through all his history with the nation and how it fell at that particular time and how he ended up trying to rebuild that nation. Ever since then, when a conscious movement, a business or whatever rises and falls, I try to do a pathology. I wanted to know how it died. And I never knew why, but I understand now that it was meant for me to use that knowledge and that methodology now, because if you can trace back how movements die, if you can trace back how businesses die, then it only helps the business and the movement that you're participating in right now. So let's talk for a second, brothers and sisters. So first of all, here's a couple of things that led to the death of the conscious community. Now, I will say this, brothers and sisters. You know how I knew the conscious community was officially dead for good? This is going to sound crazy to you, but I knew that the conscious community was officially dead for good when Donald Glover, commonly known as Childish Gambino, put out that full of shit video, and people proclaimed that as deep. When I saw that, I said, oh, the conscious community is dead. Because if a nerd that had nothing to do with anything that we worked all those years to build could put that one video out, and in that one video, everybody proclaimed him being woke and deep, that means there's no more conscious community. Now, you may say, well, what does the one have to do with the two? It's quite simple, brothers and sisters. That means that nobody was even trying to hear nothing from 125th no more. Nobody was trying to hear nothing from the various different groups all around the country that claim consciousness. And they had to go to a corny, disconnected nigga like Donald Glover to go get their information and say that video, which was copied from some of the song, that was deep. That was deep. That shows you conscious community is dead. That means the young people are not listening. Yeah, exactly, Brother Patrick. Exactly. So not only was he a disconnected dude, he was swirling. And everybody from the younger generation, they said that was deep. Now you discarded it, you flicked it off. You was like, oh man, we seen way deeper than that. But let me ask you something, brothers and sisters who listen to this video. How many times have you seen a video 20, 30, 40 times deeper than that stupid This Is America video? We lived off of that back in the 90s. We lived off of that back in the early 2000s. But these young people are so sick of the bullshit that they saw in the conscious community that they muted everything we said, and they accessed and they drew power from Donald Glover. There was focus groups in my area of young millennials studying this video. Did you know that? Focus groups. And so therefore, that's when I knew, yo, the conscious community is dead. Secondly, YouTube as a major platform. When YouTube became a major platform, that's when the conscious community also met its official demise. You know why? Because understand something, brothers and sisters. The conscious community was formed as a direct response to all of the Piscean patriarchal kind of what you call it movements that had been in existence for 30, 40 years. I'm not saying I'm against patriarchy. I'm not no feminist. I'm just saying that's how they viewed it. So the conscious community was supposed to be a direct response to that, where there was no leader, there was no icon, and everybody had a voice. And unfortunately, the conscious community became a total replica of all of those movements, because even in all of those branches of the conscious community, there was one or two dudes that you were supposed to look up to. So you had this one as a leader of this group. You had this one as a leader of this group. You had this one as a leader of that group. And how it was accentuated was these representatives would go to 125th representing their particular order as the deepest person in that group to fight against somebody from someplace else. So you tell me, is it the same or is it different? It's definitely the same. Because even in the conscious community, you were taught to look towards one or two people as the deep people, and those men would turn around and draw big time lines of demarcation that you could not pass. So what they would do, and Born could bear witness to this, those deep persons from the 5%ers would say things like, y'all niggas don't know the lessons. And y'all never gonna know the lessons like I know them. And quite frankly, I have lessons that you've never seen before. That would happen there. And then you would have people in the Nubians, and they would say, you'll never get on my level because I was closest to the doctor, so I'm more of an authority. And you see what was happening? The very thing that you formed together in order, exactly, the same thing that you formed together to oppose is the same thing that you became. And this is why you always got to be very careful. You brothers and sisters who are focused on homosexuality and all of and LGBTQ, and that is your prime focus, that's what you love, you got to be very damn careful that you don't become them, because anything you're obsessed with, you become. Listen, I'm not saying I'm jacking any of that, and you will never even see me post any kind of meme with a homosexual in it and say, look at this or anything like that, because listen, as Hollop always says, that offends my sensibilities. And so therefore, if it offends my sensibilities, what the hell am I resharing it for? That makes me suspect. And so therefore, for me, I know I'm clean, and I ain't never going to be a part of that, because I don't be resharing that. And so therefore, brothers and sisters, what happens is that in this whole thing, these men who are looked at as great leaders in this conscious community, they wanted to protect their ministry. They wanted to protect their iconship. And what they did was they drew more lines of demarcation, which would draw envy and jealousy and bitterness and hatred. So the common rank and file person that the conscious community was formed to empower would be totally bitter and have mustard in their mouth, because they would say, damn, we doing the same shit that we formed together to not do. Now you tell me if I'm wrong, but I know that I'm right. And these things began to chip away at the strong foundation that they had, and slowly but surely it began to crumble. So let me just say this as an aside, brothers and sisters. Most times what happens is this: when you on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or whatever, and you got guy that takes the opposite view of everybody just to be doing it, what you looking at is not really what you really see. And me and Hollop and people like Dev, may Allah be pleased with them, and some other people who have been around the conscious circles for a long time can tell you that what you think you see is somebody trying to build a following. But you know what you're really looking at? And this is going to be my overhand right. You know what you're really looking at? You're looking at a nigger attempting to make himself an alpha in the group so he can get more females. That's what you're looking at. So when a dude takes the opposite view of everybody else and tries to be deep, just being a contrarian, what he's trying to do is he's trying to make himself the alpha. His way of distinguishing himself is that way. And his methodology is never to try to lift up the people. His methodology is, how can I make myself look big so I can slide in other females' inboxes? And that's what the conscious community became after a while, not only for males, but for females. Is what ended up happening is people were building themselves up, and it wasn't necessarily the information they was dropping. It was the way that they ruthlessly drew lines of demarcation so you could never be them and you could never be around them. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. When your motivation is not sex, when your motivation is not trying to get a girl or trying to get a dude, you know what I'm saying? You will share with people because it doesn't threaten you. It doesn't threaten you that somebody knows the same thing that you know. And more importantly, it doesn't threaten you that somebody knows the same methodology of information so they could come to the same conclusions as you do. Now, if you look at the way we do things in the BAIO, then you know that all of us is doing nothing but sharing information with each other. And you know why? Because it's not a mad race of us men to grab as much female booty as we possibly can. We are just trying to educate as many people as we possibly can for nationhood. We're not trying to draw lines of demarcation and say, you'll never be another Dawud. You will never be another Hollop. We never do stuff like that. Peace, big brother Dindana. And so therefore, like I said, and you know who you looking at. When you see dudes on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, purposely going contrary to what everybody else is thinking, and you say, why you always do that? It's usually to grab some pussy, period. And so therefore, this is how the crumbling started. Because one of my points of the death of the conscious community is that there was never no succession. And you see, black men, me and my mentor talk about this all the time. With black men, it's very hard for us to plan for and assist in our own succession. Very hard. And the reason why it's hard for us to plan and participate in our own succession is because we were nobody before we became this person. And you can say, well, I was somebody in the streets, or I was somebody on my job, or I felt somebody. But generally, that person that you was is nothing compared to the guy that you become when you become a leader in the black movement. There's nothing like that. And remember, we have to always have some kind of sexual reference here, because that's really what the motivation was for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, what happens is this. You become a leader. You become an alpha. You become the guy that everybody looks towards for information, and they admire you. And really what ends up happening, brothers and sisters, is people start creating a life around your life. So what they do is they begin to think that you're perfect. They begin to think that you are actually, you know what I'm saying, like you are virtuous and all this other stuff. And in all reality, you could be the crookedest nigga on the planet, but you just deep. You know what I'm saying? And but because they don't know what you do in your personal life, and they don't know who you are, they lift you up and you become an icon. And that is how that community became the same as a religion. But then we dealt with that already. Let's deal with the succession thing. So what happens is this. When in fact a person gets looked up to as a leader and an icon, it is very hard for him to want to give that up. Now, I want you to look around at all the movements that have been around for years. And I don't give a damn if you niggas try to come to my doorstep with this after I say this. Has there been a successor? Has there been a successor named for the Nation of Islam? No. Has there been a successor named for the Nubians? No. Has there been a successor named for the Hebrew Israelites? No. Has there been a successor named for Sarah Suit and Seti's movement? Hell no. Has there been a successor named for the Prince of Pan-Africanist movement? No. So if there has not been a successor named, what does that mean? That means I'm holding on to my precious title. I'm holding on to my precious position. And like I said before, Black men have a hard fucking time with succession. And the reason why we have a hard time with succession is because we fought hard to be what we became. And the idea that some young buck is going to come and take over, it's very traumatizing to many of us. Now, I want you to go, after you watch this video in your spare time, I want you to go watch one of those wildlife documentaries they have on Netflix. And in those documentaries, what you'll see is you will always see, even on the ice, my nigga, even on the ice, what you'll see a whole bunch of 2,000-pound fat ass sea lions, right? But there's a big bull sea lion with huge tusks. And every once in a while, a young buck will come over because the big bull sea lion, he gets to sleep with all the other sea lions. So the young bull will come and he'll push the big sea lion into the water. And now they have a big battle, right? And in the battle, you know, one has to wound another enough so that he could like slide off. Yo, you think that's not happening in the movement? I learned a lot about human behavior watching those animal shows, bro. I do. A lot. And the thing is, that again is what separates the BAIO from that community, is that we're not all trying to sleep with the woman. So we give information freely because nobody's trying to posture. At least most of us ain't trying to posture. And so therefore, what I'm saying to you, brothers and sisters, is this, is that one of the main points to the death of the conscious community is niggas were not planning or engaging in succession. They didn't want nobody to succeed them. And all those movements that I just mentioned, my challenge goes to you today. 3/20/19 at 9:34 at night. You go to all of those movements and you tell me who's been named the successor. And if you can't do it, that is the cause of the death of the conscious community. One of the causes is that Black men have a hard fucking time with succession. We don't want nobody to take the position that we fought for. And a lot of it has nothing to do with loving people and helping people. A lot of it has to do with sexual energy and the feeling that you get that all the women are looking at you as the icon, and it just is what it is. And so, you gonna say something, big brother?
Yeah, there's another element too.
Come on with it.
The element of delusion, because you never had a position to begin with.
Right. Right. Yep. Yep. Yo, but go into that. What do you mean?
Well, I think that people take this social media and online stuff too seriously, or they put more into it. Like I always said, online is like, remember in those carnivals where they had the funhouse mirror?
Uh-huh.
That's what online is. It's like you look at yourself in the mirror and you can look all kinds of ways.
Right. Right.
But it's just a funhouse mirror.
Word up.
You are still you.
Word up.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what the online bull crap. So that's like, people don't understand. It's like when I say all the time, man, I hate the sound of my own voice.
Right.
When you look at my content, I don't talk about every goddamn thing that's going on in pop culture.
Exactly.
I don't talk about every little confrontation that happens in the conscious community. I don't engage in a lot because I follow the thing. My brother says this and I always remember it. And it didn't come from him. But it's a quote that I have on my desk at work. It says, "A wise man speaks when he has something to say, and a fool speaks because he has to say something."
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And I think that a lot of our people get jammed up because they always running their mouth, always talking, always responding to something when it's not always necessary to have commentary on something.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing, like your channel operates the same as mine. It's like you do a show when you have something in your spirit that you want to get off and talk about.
Right.
So that's the wise man.
Right.
You speak when you have something to say. And I'm
Right.
the same way. It's like I'm not just going to do content just to produce content. And then that's when things get tricky.
Word.
Because there's a lot of people out here, and that's another thing. Me and you don't live off YouTube and social media money.
Right.
Could
Word.
you imagine if we had to pay our rent with this bullshit?
Oh my goodness, bro. Man.
Why would you even put yourself in a position like that? Like my thing, and don't get me wrong, I'm glad when people can do that. You know, when you can build up enough of a following where you can do that, that's beautiful. I would never put that down.
Word.
But for me, I just like I've always felt like I didn't want these to become reliant on this
And
stuff.
it compromises you. Let's keep it 100.
It does, because when you have to cut, like, let's say I want to do a weekly show or put out daily content. Do you realize how compromising that is?
Mm-hmm.
Because a
Yep.
lot of times you're just saying shit just to put out a video,
Exactly. And keep your channel alive. Yep.
you know? Because you got to keep up and got to keep the supply, you got to keep it going. Like I'm on some old BS. Fuck YouTube. I don't give a shit about no super chats. I don't care about no PayPal's, Patreons, none of that shit.
Right.
Don't care. If I don't get it done, like I had a on my Holism Haven, which I haven't been to in a while. I must admit I have kind of abandoned my holism.com site. It's still there. Like I maintain it and I go just to make sure that it's operational, but I haven't really put a lot of energy into it. But there's a donate button on my holism.com site. Do I ever mention it?
Nope. Not at all. I didn't know that till you just said that.
Exactly. Most people probably don't even know it's there other than me just saying it just now.
Yep. And
I
I've
don't
been there before.
care.
I just didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't care. It's like my whole thing is these social media platforms is a way for me to express myself. And when I have something to say, or if I have a take on certain things, because I feel I'm a part of the culture. So when I'm talking, the culture's talking.
Right. Exactly. Like
And if the
Dr. Dre would
culture
say,
need
they
to
want
hear
to know
something,
that I still got it. They said rap changed. They want to know how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. Exactly. I remember KRS One got in trouble for making a comment. He said, "I am hip hop." And people took that as an egotistical thing and didn't see it the way that he was trying to say it, which is, I am hip hop because hip hop is me. So
He
when
is
I
hip hop
speak,
though. What y'all talking about?
people always, trying to misconstrue what you're saying because they want to, create some type of a controversy or drama. And
Word.
most people don't listen to what the hell you're saying anyway. They're just looking for a way for them to go off.
Word.
But what he was basically saying is, I am hip hop because hip hop is me. That's what I
Right.
live. That's what I breathe. So when I'm speaking for hip hop.
Exactly.
And this is, I feel the same way about nationhood
Right.
and cultural consciousness and all whatever people want to define it and label it as. If I'm
Yo, son.
speaking, I'm speaking about something because it's something that I feel is something that we need to pay attention to so that things don't get out of line. And we constantly, it's like that checks and balances.
Yep. So let me ask you this, son. What is your view on my point on succession?
Well, success. Oh, it's a perfect point because what it really means, in short, is that we haven't developed a system.
Right.
That's all. The Nation of Islam, under you know who, has not developed a system.
Right. Right.
So when the main person goes, everything is in chaos. Everything goes back, like it takes about 20, 30 years for some other person to rise up in the ranks that people
Mm-hmm.
respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad system.
Yep.
In America, people can talk about Trump all they want to. And in 2020, Trump will probably be out of here.
Exactly.
It's a possibility. He might not be president no more.
Hmm.
Or if he is, he'll be president for another 4 years and he'll be gone.
Right.
And then somebody else will replace him.
Yep.
But the problem is we don't want to develop a system because see, a system is unselfish.
Right.
And that's the reason why we don't have a system because everybody wants to be the man.
Yep.
It's a stupid concept within itself. It's something that I've never wanted to be. And that's why a
No.
lot of people come at me because they are in projecting their bullshit onto me.
Yep. Yep. That's a very important point that you just said, and I want to veg you back on that.
Hmm.
See, brothers and sisters, we're not trying to be your leader. And it's important that I say that because if you come into the BIO as a younger person, we're trying to push you in the front.
Hmm.
When you come into the BIO as a sister, we're trying to put you out there. We don't have no bullshit, antiquated view of the woman's place in the movement or the young person's place in the movement. You will never come on my channel or Hollis channel and hear millennials is this and millennials is that. And I challenge you, friend me on Facebook and look through my whole timeline all of these years. All you will ever see is me defending millennials because I have millennial children. And even if I didn't have millennial children, is I love the millennial generation because I believe that the millennial generation is a direct response to our bullshit that we practiced for so many years and that we took. And when people say things like the millennials, they feel like they are entitled. What do you mean they're not entitled? You know why they're entitled? Because we didn't do shit. What do you mean they're entitled? Well, how would you be born into this world if your mother and father spent 10, 15, 20 years in the movement and didn't do shit? Wouldn't you be entitled?
I'm gonna stop calling it a movement too.
Word. Yeah, the stagnant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I want y'all to know that we're not trying to be your leader. When you say you have ideas to change the Ning site, you say you have ideas to do this, that, and the next thing, you will see us say, go ahead. Because I'm not trying to be your leader. I want you to put your personal stamp and your heart on what we're doing. Because let me tell you something. The Ning site was the way it was for years until some of y'all came around and you jazzed it up. And now it's butter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It probably could even get better. You know what I'm saying? So for us, this is what we fought for. We fought for you to come in the movement and you to take over. We're not trying to be your leader. And to me, that's another part of the death of the conscious community. You ready for this? Another step in the death of the conscious community is too many fucking gatekeepers. Too many gatekeepers. Now, let me say this to y'all, brothers and sisters, and be very forthright. Any movement, any business, anything that has gatekeepers will never last past one generation. Did you hear me?
Exactly.
Anything that has gatekeepers will never last past one generation. Let me say this to you. People give fraternities a bad rap, right? And they say, oh, fraternities, they haze you, it's the boule. Let me tell you what I know about fraternities. Fraternities put you through an initiation for you to become a frat brother. But as soon as you become a frat brother, there's no more gatekeepers. You are now a part of the whole, and you are part of that fraternity all around the world. Now, is that what we want as a nation? Not necessarily as far as fraternity goes or whatever, and the hazing and the bullshit that they went through. But nevertheless, it's the proper thing. You go through an initiation. Once you're a part of it, listen. My brother's Sigma Phi Rho. I got people I know that's Q dogs or whatever. Yes, they have an initiation once they come through, but once they come through, they become a part of a fucking brotherhood. The conscious community had too many gatekeepers. It had too many people that wanted you to be a part of it, but once you became a part of it, like I said before in the beginning of this, y'all niggas will never know what I know. You will never be able to be as deep as I am. I searched for a long time. And just when you get to the point where you think you're as deep as that person, then they pull a cover and be like, I got this new information. You'll never, you know what I'm saying? So, in other words, it's like Charlie Brown with Lucy and Charlie Brown. You go
Yeah.
to get that football, and as soon as you get there, whip, and then boom, you go tumbling down again. And that frustrated people, but our generation, we kept trying to kick that football. These young brothers and sisters that's born now, they're like, fuck that football. We're going to another field. And I
Yep.
love y'all for that.
And people talking about millenniums. What about Generation Z?
Right.
Nobody talks about that
Mm-hmm.
because that's the generation that's going to be coming up right now.
Right.
Generation Z, the millennials are becoming like the baby boomers.
Right. Yes, sir.
You know, and
And
when are we going? It's like we gotta like what you're saying is so true, man. It's like we don't want to be gatekeepers in the BAIO.
hell no.
We want skilled people to be involved
Mm-hmm.
in the process of nationhood. If
Right.
you see that something is needed, bring your skills in and fill that need.
Right.
It's just like what JFK said about America. He said, "Don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country."
Right.
And it's the same thing with us. Don't ask what the BAIO can do for you. What can you do for the BAIO? And it's not
Exactly.
when you say the BAIO, it's not like what can you do for Hollop.
Right.
It ain't like what it ain't like what you can do for Minister Dawud. What
Mm-hmm.
can you do for this concept of land, infrastructure, nationhood, and a nation state of our own on the
Right.
continent? What can you do for that? What skills can you bring to the table? So that's why I find it so hilarious when people want to, put you, like that scene in the movie where you're sitting in the chair and the room is dark and they got the light above your head and
Mm-hmm.
they want to question you. That's what they want to do with me when it comes to the BAIO. Is if, and my point is always, well, I'm just a member.
Right.
Like,
Right.
why do you think that what I say is some type of law or rule? There's plenty of things that I may not necessarily agree with, that I may give my input on that I don't think should go a certain way. But all I'm doing is giving my input and my opinion. Ultimately, whatever the group decides, that's the route we're gonna go,
Word.
whether
Word.
I like it or not. And I accept that. I'm not gonna get butt hurt. I'm not gonna start pouting. It is what it is.
Right. Right.
As long as I'm not like if I have a voice and my voice isn't being squashed, I'm cool.
Right.
As long as I can put my say in and give my take, and then we can all look at the different perspectives and say, all right, this is the way we should go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yo, I say this in the spirit of Andre Devontae Carter. When
Yes. Rest in peace.
without a doubt, rest in peace. I already kind of had a good rapport with people being a minister, but the short period of time I knew my good brother Dev, he taught me so much about being a powerful man but being humble. And like I said before, there were times where we was all on conference calls and stuff like that, and Dev wanted me to be a part of the call. So he was like, "Yo, call me, and I'll three-way you in." So what would end up happening is that when the conference call would hang up, it would just be me and Dev. So before I went and went back to doing what I was doing, Dev would always grab me, verbally, and be like, "So brother, so how you doing?" And he made it his business to know who I am and what I did. And most people don't know this, but Dev intended to hire me to put security all around his house that he was trying to buy. See, I'm not trying to be y'all leader. All of you in this chat room, I know a little bit something about you. You're not a fucking number to me, okay? Every last one of y'all, I know something about you. And the reason why I know something about you is because I care about you as a brother. And when the sisters come, I care about you as a sister more so than you're a soldier that's going to be running out there to do some shit for me. You know what I'm saying? And so, therefore, that in and of itself is another death of the conscious community, because over the course of time, you became nothing but a number and you was following somebody. Nationhood is not about making followers. Nationhood is the collective of brothers and sisters, and some may excel in certain areas than others. They become leaders in that particular area. But nobody is better than the other person. So what you begin to find out, brothers and sisters, is that this particular community began to die, and YouTube began to give life to people really who couldn't make it in the conscious community. I'll say that again. YouTube gave voices to people who couldn't make it in the conscious community. And the question is this: is it the fact that they couldn't cut it, that they just wasn't desirable, or they was punks or this, that, and next thing, or was it because they couldn't fight their way to the front from all the gatekeepers and the people that were trying to become leaders. See, in nationhood, you don't have that. In nationhood, you do have people in positions of leadership, but nobody's really the leader. And you have to have it that way, because if we're going to build a nation, brothers and sisters, they cannot take one of us out and the movement dies.
Exactly. You need a system. And can I
Please.
say, I want to say something because you made me think of something when you were talking about Dev, and I want to give you a story you probably haven't heard, and just people so you can get an idea of what type of dude this was. Because I don't have a lot of male friends,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that I do is for a reason.
Right.
Dev has a friend, and without getting into too much personally, but Dev has a friend who he's been friends with since they was children, and his friend is a cop,
Okay.
and he was getting married, and his wife or his fiance knew Dev as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what she wanted to do for Dev, for her husband, I should say, is she knew that Dev was a producer. You know, Dev, if most people don't know, Dev was a music producer.
Right. There were so many things, but
Yeah, and a lot of the songs that y'all hear, like people was hearing from Smith and Wesson and Al B. Sure and all of that, was actually produced by Dev.
word. Yep.
So his wife wanted to produce a song for her husband so they can play on their wedding day.
Hmm.
And she went into the studio. Dev produced the track. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Now his wife, she has a good career, makes decent money. She said she wanted to give Dev $10,000 for that track,
Wow.
and Dev turned it down.
Oh, well, without a
Now
doubt.
let me tell you now this is the important part. Dev was hurting
Mm-hmm.
financially.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like at the time, um, his royalties was. I don't want to get too personal, but I just say this: he at the time that he was struggling.
Right.
He could have used that money,
Mm-hmm.
but he turned it down. And the reason why he turned it down, he said, "I'm not going to charge. This is my best friend. I'm not going to
Exactly.
charge you for a track. Well, I'm doing this out of love." And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was just such a perfect example of how he was as a person. He
Word.
never he never put himself or what his needs was above his relationships and above having a certain code. Anybody else in that position, they were like $10,000. Oh yeah, I need this money. He was like,
Hell,
no, hell no.
he'd be like, right on time.
Right. And that was how he was. And that's the reason why, I love that dude as a brother and as
Word.
a friend. Because
Word.
he had like my thing was I've been around hardcore dudes all the time. I've been around thugs all my life.
Right.
What separated Dev from those dudes is that Dev had a heart.
Mm-hmm. A big heart.
He had a big heart. Like
Yep.
people used to like when they see me and him together, it was like he was the bad cop and I was the good cop, right? It's
Right.
the complete freaking opposite. I'm more of the bad cop than he was. He was the teddy bear. Me, I was
Word.
like on some old man, fuck these people.
Yep.
I
Yep.
was on, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I just had to say that when you mentioned his name. It's like just to give you an idea of what type of dude that this guy was. And God, man, I miss him so much. You have no idea.
Me too. Word up. So let's get around, because we're getting close to 10 o'clock. Let's get around to this, brothers and sisters. So let me just say this to you as a couple of things, because I think we covered a lot of how that conscious community did fall. Let me just say this also. In my judgment, there was nothing wrong with the conscious community. It was really some of the people in it. You know what I'm saying? It was, the conscious community was a great idea. It did its job. It brought out a lot of information that was supposed to come out. And I don't think that it was a failure on that level, but I just think that it didn't achieve the full potential. I want to say this to all of y'all. I don't know this doesn't apply to you in the chat room, but there will be people who watch this video, so just bear with me. If you are out there because it's cool to kind of say Hotep is a curse word, I don't fuck with you. I really don't. If you label people as hoteppers and that's fun for you to do, I doesn't fuck with you. Because that is an ancient term that means a lot. And for you just to be a follower and you start using that term, to me, you can kick rocks and you can do other things that I'm not going to say because I'm a minister and I've said too much.
And
But
where did it come from?
huh?
It's important that we know, where did the term hotepper come from? It came from people who's not a part of the conscious community, people who are not a part of cultural consciousness or even about Black folks to begin with. They
Right,
came up with that and used that as a pejorative to label people like us,
right,
nationalists and whatever. So why in the fuck would I turn around and use their terminology to define our people? And that's
exactly,
why if you see me or you see my content, it's certain catchphrases and shit you ain't going to be hearing Hollop saying.
right,
If people want to repeat catchphrases, repeat mine.
right,
I ain't repeating yours. You don't hear me say nothing about no hotepper. You don't hear me saying nothing about no dusty Negroes. You don't hear me saying nothing, using all of these terminologies that all of these Black talking heads use. I'm
right,
not using it. You don't even hear me use the term ADOS.
right.
If you peep that,
Yep,
I'm
yep,
not using other people's terminology, because when you do that, I look at I'm a hip hop head. That's called biting,
yep,
and I'm not a biter.
yep. You made me think of Beach Street when you said it like
Yeah,
that.
man. It's like stop. Every time somebody, because it strikes me or it reeks of you trying to be cool. Whatever the new terminology is, you want to use it because you want to be cool because everybody else is using it. Fuck that shit, man.
Exactly. A hotepper. What do you look like parroting that shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, here it is, you're trying to be conscious, you're trying to be a woke person, and you're using the terminology hotepper. You know how stupid you look? You know what I'm saying? And for me, that's what I want to get into now. What I want to get into now is the conscious community itself was brought down by people, in my peace, brother Deontay, people who, in my judgment, really hated Black people on below the surface. On the surface, I love my people. I love my people so much. I got to do this. I got to do that. No, no, you don't. No, you don't. You hate your people. Because I'm going to give a couple of analogies, and then we're going to kirk out here. If, in fact, every word out of your mouth regarding women is bitch, you don't like women. Can you agree with that, big brother?
Yep.
If you know what I'm saying? Yo, these bitches this and bitches that. My bitch the other day, the bitch. When you use that terminology, you don't like women. You don't. I don't care who you are. If every other word coming out your mouth is the B word regarding women, you are. Now, some people would say, oh, Dawud is a beta, this, that, next thing. Well, go ahead, dude. You got to say what you got to say and you got to do what you got to do. But what you remember that I am professor class that deals with male batterers versus women. And I get to talk to men who have that kind of feeling towards women every single day, but specifically 2 times a week, being Tuesday and Wednesday. But most of these dudes call me during the week anyway. And even going through my class for 6 months, some dudes come out of there and it's bitch this and bitch that, and these bitches and my bitch said this, and it's like, nah, I ain't got nothing against women. I never hit women in my life, but they just all bitches. What? What?
Don't get me started.
So here's the thing. If that's how you feel, so how do you then transfer that to the brother or the sister, but really the brother, who is constantly slandering, skewering, and calling Black men and Black women names, and then says, because I love my people. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that really is what brought the conscious community down also. It was too many people inside of it that used it as a way to come up, but they really didn't love Black people. Because loving Black people is a long suffering thing. You really gotta be patient. You really gotta have love. You gotta have understanding. And you have to have principle in order to redeem Black people because they're gonna try you. See, looking in the chat room, you got Brother Patrick, you got Dundada, you got Born, you got Ron and Black. Let me tell you what I know something about y'all. Dundada is a level-headed dude who is a leader, and he's confident in himself enough that he doesn't usually say anything until he thinks something really needs to be said. And he sees things then Dawud is kind of like a dude that doesn't let you get outside of the hash mark. So in other words, when he sees you going too far right or too far left with the bullshit, he says, "Hey, this is Dawud." And usually says something. Patrick, on the other hand, is a younger dude, very confident in his beliefs, and chooses not to say anything until he sees you say something that he considers is bullshit. And once he sees something that's bullshit, he can't even help himself. He's got to say something. But what I love about him is he is a good sort of like watchdog when it comes down to that, because he's gonna make sure, like somebody, we was all on a show together, and somebody said something that he didn't quite think was nationhood, and the first thing he said was, "No, Black, I think that's gonna be hard to do. I don't think you should do that." And I go on mute and laugh because the thing is, I know y'all so well. I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Born is the quiet leader in the background. Me, I refer to, and I know Hollywood would agree, I refer to Born as Terminator X. He's
Yeah,
the guy.
that's perfect.
That's excellent, isn't it?
That's perfect. Yeah.
He's the guy that speaks with his information and his hands. He doesn't believe in saying too much or whatever, but he's always there, and he always comes up with an in-depth analysis of the way things go. Brother Jamal took him a little while to get very very comfortable with us, but once he got comfortable, he's very energetic. But Brother Jamal's not the kind of guy that reads 2 or 3 words or something and just comes off the top of his head. Brother Jamal's the kind of guy, he'll come up with something that he researched, he read, and if he believes it, he's going to talk about it. If he doesn't believe it, he's not going to talk about it. And what I love about Brother Jamal is the short period of time around us, he definitely got nationhood. Would you agree?
Yep.
He definitely got it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I trust him with that. I really do. I trust him with that because I know that Brother Jamal's going to be around. He's going to say, integration is moving. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know what I'm saying? Our good brother, I don't know how old you are, but you come off as one. Our good brother, Ronan Black, is sort of like an elder statesman. He's like a dude that comes off with a lot of elder kind of confidence. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't know if he's in our age group or not, big brother, but I just know if he is in the 20s or 30s, he's kind of like an old soul. Because even just coming on the scene, there's a certain elder calm that comes around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the thing is this, brothers and sisters.
Don't forget Deontay.
Oh, Deontay is a silent assassin. Deontay is like Inspector Deck. You know what I'm saying? He picks his spots and he watches, but he's not going to stay in the background. He'll come out when he sees he got to say something. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, everything is cool, y'all, but when I see one of y'all on some bullshit, I'm going to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love that, man.
Word, me too.
I love Deontay. I love Patrick and the energy that they bring. I love everybody, man. Just everybody in the circle is so cool. And I really love the fact that they want to contribute. They want to be heard. And I fight for them to be heard.
Right. Indeed. And I like listening to him.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie.
I'm waiting for Fatty Black to have another show.
Yeah, me too.
I want to hear his live stream.
Word up. I gotta come down there. Yo, when I come down there, we all getting together, man. We're gonna go out again at nighttime. It just for like 3-4 hours just chilling. We got to.
Oh, definitely. What's his name? I think Kofi wanted to meet me this weekend. Like I think we might do brunch this weekend.
Now Kofi, that's another dude. Kofi is one of those dudes that has explosive smarts. He's the kind of guy that he's intelligent, and then like he'll come out and he'll say, "Well, what about this?" And you'd be like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? Like I never looked at it that way. You know what I'm saying? Because you got your dudes that have alternative views, and them shits is just basically retarded, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying? But with Kofi will come out with a different way of looking at stuff, and you'd be like, "Oh shit, man, I never looked at it like that."
Yep.
And you gotta have a guy like that around. You really do, because if you don't, then you will have people thinking along the same line. But Kofi is he's always gonna look at it a different way, always, and he's always gonna say, well, according to what I think it should be this way, that way. And the thing I love about Kofi is it's not like he's gonna back down from his opinion either.
Right.
You
I
know what I'm
was
saying?
with when we went. Me and Patrick was together when I saw Captain Marvel, and we went afterwards, to get something to eat. And
Mm-hmm.
I was telling him that one of the things I like about him is how no nonsense he is.
Right. Right.
Like like his bullshit detector is pretty acute. Like mine's is acute too. I think he even got me on it. His bullshit detector is like very acute because he'll go in the moment he hears somebody wants some bullshit
Yep.
immediately. It
He
won't
be
be no
cracking me up.
pauses. It's like boom.
Yep. He be cracking
And
me up when I see him on those panels. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? Because I can only count the seconds when I hear some bullshit.
Yeah, I for real, and that's so true. Because it's like when I hear somebody talking some BS, I know the next comment. I'm just looking for the fatty black comment.
Yep.
Ah.
Yep. So my point in all of this is, if I was trying to be your leader, would I know that much about y'all? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know, and
Exactly. You ain't just a statistic inside of the BAIO.
exactly.
We're family.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And we all got to get a chance to know each other, brothers. You know what I'm saying? We all got to, and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, we have Bell, we have Akachi, we have Salima Samad, and quite frankly, Bell is sort of like the most versatile person we have in the BIO, male or female.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Period. Like Bell is the kind of person that it's amazing to me because Bell can gel into almost every crowd. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And that is a fascinating skill that I've never really had. Anytime, you know what I'm saying? Like you can see from the pictures and the documentaries of Rwanda, she's so intelligent. She's like, oh, I'm gonna go over here. And the people accept her. I'm gonna go over here, and the people accept her. I'm gonna go, and not only do they accept her, they be telling her inside stuff.
Hmm.
So who better to have as a diplomat than her? And it's not like that's her only skill because she's super intelligent. She has a very, very valuable skill. But to me, the most underrated part about Belle is just her ability to be so fluid into different areas. You
Exactly.
understand? So for me, that's her. Then you have Adwoa, who brings a motherly, feminine aspect to the BAIO. You understand?
Adjua. Adjua.
Adwoa, I'm sorry. Definitely does. Like brings that whole feminine, motherly energy to the BIO. Totally intelligent about Africa and many other things, but is a committed mother and a committed wife, and is not even apologizing about it. You know what I'm saying? We'll do a show while washing dishes, doing dinner, taking care of our children, and that shit is kind of amazing to me because I've seen a lot of chicks be like, "Oh, we can't have a show because we got to deal with the children." Admirable, yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna be on the show.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And of course, Akachi is the warrior queen. You know,
Right.
she is the ultimate fire sign, warrior queen. You could expect that when we have like a military conference, guys, let's kill them niggas. Fuck. And I'm not trying to extinguish that. And I have to say this, man, because for years people would get on the Black Panthers and a lot of the militant groups in the Black Power movement and say, "Oh, it's this and it's that." We say a lot about people who just get on these shows and say kill whitey, this, that, and next thing. But at the same time, those militant parts of the group, they are needed also. They
Hmm.
are needed.
Well, the real ones.
Yes, exactly. Not the ones posturing for more sex. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Because that's really what it is. And I have to hold to that. I really have to hold to that. A lot of posturing on Facebook and all this other stuff is to try to raise your inbox appeal. For
I
real.
want to be liked. Please like me.
Yep. Because then,
That's
go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's all it's about. It's about being like. I do want to say something about the so-called alpha beta bullshit.
Come on with it.
I remember a while ago, I used to say that I've never heard my mom and her sisters were some of the strongest black women I've ever been around.
Mm-hmm.
I never once heard them refer to themselves as strong black women.
Right.
Ever.
Right. Mine neither. Yep.
So I feel the same way about black men. I've never heard a real strong black man, and I've been around strong black men in my family, refer to themselves as an alpha male.
Right.
Never
Yep.
heard it. So the moment I hear somebody using those terms, beta, alpha, cuck, and all this other crazy shit,
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
know automatically that I'm dealing with a beta male.
Yep.
Because
Patrick, somebody
real
that's
men don't do that.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, I'm around real dudes. We are not sitting around having a conversation about what gay people are doing. We can give a less than 2 pieces of monkey feces what gay people are doing. That doesn't even enter into our conversation or in our mind. So when you
Yo,
see people concentrating on that a lot, those people are fucking suspect.
hell yeah.
And you
Yo,
better watch your back.
let me ask you this question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got to say this while you're on the subject.
Mhm.
Now, I know that you're from Brooklyn, so you had your 40-ounce drinking days. Do you ever remember cracking open a 40 or 2 or 3 or 4 and talking about gay people?
No,
I don't.
I don't either, because it never happened.
Exactly. And those dudes I was around was some of the toughest hardcore dudes I ever been around. So where did this come from? Nobody ever cracked no 40 and be like, yo, man, you ever heard about these? Like, nobody ever did that.
You know
Nobody
why?
ever.
You know why, right? Let's say you did do it. There was somebody in that crew that did do it. What would happen?
Oh my God, he would become the laughing stock of the crew.
And they'd be looking at him sideways.
Word.
Like, why is this dude talking about this shit?
Exactly. And it would be heightened because everybody's drunk. And
Hmm.
if it wasn't addressed right then and there, somebody would be like, the next day when we was all sober, be like, yo, D, man, remember this nigga brought this up? Oh, yeah, I remember that, man. What the hell? So why is it commonplace now? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I,
oh,
I know why. I can see you. I see you. You ain't fooling nobody.
word.
You ain't
Word up.
fooling a soul.
So, brothers and sisters, that's really it for me, man. That's all I really wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about these ways in which the conscious community fell, and in that kind of talk about nationhood and why nationhood is important and how to not fall into the same situations. First of all, number one and first forthright, black succession is of paramount and is of the utmost importance. I can't say that enough. You got to name people who are going to be successors. You have to. If you don't name people who are going to be successors, people will get tired and in a lot of ways just leave your movement. And quite frankly, your movement is a failure if you don't have young brothers and sisters waiting to take it over. And that's, to me, what happened to a lot of these movements is there was not a second generation. There was not a third generation for these movements, and it died. You know what I'm saying? So that in and of itself, if you're part of a movement and there's no leader that's named as a successor, you know that you're part of something that's going to die. Number two, what you call it? We're not trying to be your leader or your gatekeeper. If you're a part, oh, big brother, peace, brother Shades. If you're part of a movement that has a whole bunch of gatekeepers, men and women, but really men who are drawing lines of demarcation, constantly telling you, you can never be as smart as me, you can never know these lessons that I know, you can never have these books that I know, and even if you study for years, you're not going to be. That in and of itself was also the death of the conscious community because there was too many lines of demarcation being drawn, too many separations between me and you. And the younger generation, they don't have the patience for that. And like Brother Patrick said, I don't want to sit 5 minutes listening to some nonsense. You didn't want to also sit 5 minutes and wait for somebody to decide they wanted to name you as the next man. You know what I'm saying? And so you got that. In addition to that, what you call it? In addition to that, and finally, YouTube became a major platform. And when YouTube became a major platform, it empowered everybody that didn't make it in the conscious community. And all of those brothers and sisters were bitter and angry, and they decided to strike on their own. And that led to the disintegration of the conscious community because they didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And you got to be very careful what you say in regards to a movement. Because like I said, the full time that I followed and paid attention to the conscious community, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, everybody was trying to disassociate themselves with it. Everybody was trying to say, I'm not a part of that. So, nigga, which one of y'all is a part of it? Because this is a community with nobody that wants to claim it. You don't want to make the same mistake with nationhood. I am a part of nationhood. I am a part of land, infrastructure, and nationhood. I tell your mama that, like Tupac would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And quite frankly, if I catch anybody saying they're not a part of it, that is when I will become a gatekeeper, because the gate will be shut on your black ass. Okay?
And I want to make a point about that.
Please do.
The death of the conscious community was an inevitability.
Right.
Because if the conscious community didn't have a death or didn't die, I don't think we would be where we are right now. So
Right.
it played a role and a function for the time,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's time to move on.
Yes.
And I want to just say this: the BAIO is not an end; it's a means to an end. At
Right.
its core, the BAI. And this is another point I definitely got to make.
Please.
At its core, the BAIO is a social network.
Right.
So this is why I get so annoyed when I hear people coming in talking about where to land at. Because that means you fundamentally don't understand what we're trying to do.
The land is on
Did you see
Facebook.
did you see how Minister was able to look at each name in this chat room and give you an indication of what their personality is like?
Mm.
You know how he was able to do that? Because we socialize.
Right.
We get to know people. When you come into the group, we try to know you and interact with you, because that's the only way you can build anything. You got to build it as a family, as a
Right.
community.
Right.
So it's a means to an end. The BAIO is not a nation.
Right.
It's a social network
Mm-hmm.
of people of like mind that are interested and believe in the concept of land, infrastructure, nationhood. So don't put the cart before the horse.
Right.
When you come into the group and your first question is, well, where the land going to be at? Who the fuck is you? Nobody knows you.
Exactly.
Did you try to reach out to anybody? Did you try to form a relationship with one person?
Mm-hmm.
But you want to come in and now all of a sudden, oh, you where the land? I want to be. Come on, man. We don't. That's not how it works. This is really, in actuality, it's like an organic vetting process.
Right. Right. And if you look at it, like if you watch Godfather 1, 2, and 3, and you see all of the Godfathers sit at the table, what is that? It's an Italian social network.
Hmm.
Basically,
Yeah.
you know, they all come together, they hash out their issues, they go back to their organizations and conduct business. That's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. And with that, they was able to lock down cities like New York, Chicago, and wherever the Italian mob was. So we're trying to do the same. We're not trying, but we're doing the very same thing. And I think that we have you're right, Holland, and that's deep. And that's an outpouring of the subject that I didn't even think of. We needed the conscious community to die to make way for the BAIO and nationhood. We needed it because we're standing on the shoulders of that particular model, and that model was for its time. It was a bridge. We
Hmm.
had all of the like I try to refer to, and I'm not being derogatory when I say it, but all of the institutional movements of the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know what I'm saying, early 90s or whatever, which led way because there was a gap, a big dark gap between like 1997, 98 to sort of like 2009. And in that gap formed the conscious community. The conscious community came out and the information came out, the personalities came out, and we was able to see. And I wanted to say this and be very also to add on to what we're saying. The reason why that community fell is because you got the community that you deserved.
Hmm.
You got the community that you deserve. The people wanted the community to be the way it was. They encouraged it. And so you can't just blame everything on those gatekeepers and leaders of the community and say, oh, they wanted to hold stuff back, this, that, next thing. No, no, no. In all reality, the people wanted it to be just like that. And they wanted to try to be successful inside that toxic framework. And that's why it had to go.
Yep.
And now the reason why movements like the BAIO, because we're not the only movement that's for nationhood, but the reason why our movement is strong is because we learned the lessons from that, and we intentionally try to kill all that toxic shit from other movements.
Mm-hmm.
And what would we have to refer to? Like my teacher always says, try to make it real compared to what? What would we really have to compare to if they didn't go before us and make the mistakes that they made?
Right.
So, you'll never see me come on here, oh, these conscious community people and this, that. First of all, there ain't no conscious community no more. It ain't. You know what I'm saying? So what is it now? Now you just have a whole bunch of people. Some call them woke. Some call them, I don't know what the hell they call them. So a bunch of different terminologies that they call them right now. You got the ADOS and you got other stuff like that. But in all reality, it is a bunch of brothers and sisters trying to find their way. Trying to find their way. That's right, Brother Patrick. It was time to evolve. So, brothers and sisters, listen, that in and of itself is going to do it for me. My next show, probably this weekend, is going to be called Cowardice, the Root Fears of True Nationhood. You're going to want to be here for that.
I know I will.
Because to give you a hit off the top, the person that speaks against nationhood and talks about why y'all aren't over there, why y'all don't have land, why y'all keep talking about Africa and all those other things, you can't get mad at them because the root cause of that is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And the fear comes from something so radically different than what they're used to that they're reacting, but they're usually reacting in fear. And might I say also, people inside the nationhood movement who are still acting like yesterday, and the people outside, they got a lot of fear too. They got a lot of fear too. So the only way to really conquer fears is to face it, but there's an intelligent way to face it. Because if you say you're afraid of dogs and you get around a ravenous pit bull who's barking and just wants to bite the shit out of you, and you be like, oh, well, I'm going to face my fear, nigga, you might get bit. I don't know what that's going to do for your fear. You know? You know what I'm saying? Like if that dog intend to bite you, if you got a fear of crocodiles or alligators and you go by the seaside, I don't think that's a wise move. Because you may get bit and snatched. You know what I'm saying? And then thunder rolled. So there's a way to conquer fear, and then there's a way to acknowledge it. But first, we have to acknowledge that we have some fears, and we all have some fears. And I'm getting into my subject. Anyway, listen, bro. Thank you for tagging along with me. Thank you for adding what you add. I love you.
Love
And
you too.
I'll see y'all sometime this weekend.
Alrighty.
Salam alaikum, Hotep, peace, Black African power.